For the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Jenna, can we have roll call, please? Oh, it came from out of nowhere.
Trustee Grabowski.
Here.
Trustee Kreiser.
Here.
Trustee Pater.
Here.
Trustee Belt.
Here.
Trustee South.
Here.
And President Knutson.
Here. Item 2 is public hearings. We have none this evening. Item 3, approval of the regular village board meeting dated April 15th, 2025. I hope everyone's had a chance to go through them. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections as they are presented this evening? And if not, do I have a motion to approve as presented?
Motion to approve as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I abstain.
Okay, one abstention. Motion, minutes are hereby adopted. Sorry. Citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, with time being indicated by an audible alarm. When the alarm sounds, speakers are asked to please conclude their comments. Speakers are asked to use the podium and state their name and address for the record. Is there anybody in the room that would like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Dale Stauber. I live at 851 East Wisconsin Avenue. My concerns are the noise that is coming from the factory on Hickory Street, known as Northern Stainless. This has been going on for 2 years. I have here 24 signatures that I got in one day in our area with the noise that you can hear for blocks away. This thing runs from 7 p.m. all the way around to 3:45 the next day. And it's a fan or an exhaust system that runs and runs and runs. We cannot sleep in the summertime with our windows open because this noise is that bad and that loud. I can hear it in our house and other people can hear it in their house right now with the windows are closed. The house that I live in, the backyard faces Northern Stainless. We cannot enjoy our backyard anymore because of this ongoing noise. It's constantly running from Monday, starts at 5:30 in the morning until Friday. If they run Friday night, it still goes Friday night. So the only 2 days I have to enjoy our backyard is Saturday and Sunday. With that being, I would like someone to investigate it. I talked to the police department about this 2 years or last year, twice. I've called the police for a noise ordinance and all that, and all I get is, well, I gotta talk to my supervisor. Why do they have to talk to the supervisor to issue a citation? If you're going down the road and you get a speeding ticket, do they have to call a supervisor to give you a speeding ticket? I don't think so. This is ongoing. Like I said, I got 24 signatures. They would like to see it stopped also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like, oh, yes, ma'am.
Hi, Rebecca Holmesine, 506 Partridge. I'd like to thank you guys for the additions that you've made to the cruising ordinance proposal. I think that that's probably the compromise that we might see, is to add that intent, because I've now started keeping track of how many times I traverse past the beach in that 2-hour period. And so going about my normal business, I do think that I would be in violation of it without the addition of the intent clause. So I appreciate your additions to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room that would like, yes, sir, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris. I'm also Christopher Sock, also residing at 506 Partridge Court. I just want to thank all of you for the addition of the amendment to the cruising ordinance. I do think that that is a good compromise solution that will achieve the intent of the ordinance without, worrying anybody unduly. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Did you want to hand that to Jenna over there, the signatures? Be part of the record then this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other comments, then we're going to move on to the next item, item 5. Ordinances. Review, discussion, and possible action on ordinance 2025-03, an ordinance to create Chapter 86, Article 10 of the, Article 11 of the Municipal Code of the Village of Pewaukee regarding the prohibition of cruising. Matt, which one?
Since I did the revision, I'll just summarize them. So this is a matter that was on the agenda for board discussion at the last meeting. We made some revisions to the proposed ordinance based on some of the feedback received from some of the board and some of the public, which was addressed tonight. More specific in terms of what cruising is beyond just a numeric, a quantitative value going past a certain point in time, a certain number of times. What we've done is added some language that the officers can use and cite to on scene when issuing a citation, looking at certain factors to see if there is an intent to drive not just multiple times past a location, but in a way that constitutes unnecessary repetitive driving. So trying to address those concerns, trying to find some middle ground there that doesn't withdraw too much discretion from the officers in the field, but also gives an opportunity if a citation is issued and an individual really feels that they did not violate the ordinance, gives them a tool to make a defense in municipal court if they contest a citation. So that was the impetus for the changes. This language does come from another community, largely from another community, modified a little bit to fit our circumstances, but I still feel confident that even with this addition, the case law would suggest that this ordinance would withstand any legal scrutiny. So happy to answer any questions, but those are the revisions.
Are there any questions or comments?
I have one.
Yes, Jim.
So, part of me at one point, after reading and hearing people's comments and such, was thinking like, okay, is this necessary? And obviously social media loves to chat about this as well. In the 15 minutes of me walking down along the beach today with my dog, 2 cars went down the street revving their engines as loud as they could till they redlined it. And then when I circled around back to go down by our beautiful river, so I wasn't on the street anymore, I could hear somebody spinning their tires on Main Street. And right there, it sold me. No, we need to do this. But my concern is the hours that this is enforceable, from 11 to 8 p.m. summertime, which is the months we're capturing here. 8 p.m. it's not even dark, and sun's still up, people are still out, beach is still full. I'd like to see that extended. Obviously, with going on record that with the police chief in the audience, even after this hour ends, there's still other ordinance on the books to counter reckless driving, disorderly conduct, noise, nuisances, everything else like that. So, when this hour ends, doesn't mean it's a free-for-all down there, but I would like to see that 8 p.m. time extended to kind of capture more of the hours that people are going to be out enjoying the downtown. Because as I sat there listening to someone rev their engine, and when they stopped, everyone on the patios at Chocolate Factory and Caesar started yelling at the guy. I was like, okay, this is now a public safety thing, because now there's going to be confrontation in there. So it's not a noise thing, it's a public safety thing, it's a community thing. So I would like to see that extended to at least like 11 p.m.
To what time?
11 p.m. 11 to 11.
Should we go earlier?
I mean, I don't see anyone getting up that early, but I don't.
Does there have to be a time frame to it? I guess
That's what I'm
I
wondering.
wasn't
Can we
here the last meeting.
Can we just
so
do days?
Can it just be that this is the ordinance, any time of day? I was confused by the time restriction on it.
So every ordinance on the books around the state has a time period on there. So the thinking there that when is this occurring? When is this most likely to occur? So where are we seeing this? Are we seeing it at 11 o'clock? Or are we seeing it when the most people, the height of activity is occurring at the beach?
Well,
So I don't want to just have it wide open, because then that's going to weaken the ordinance. I think you have to have some sort of time parameters.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is that at 8 p.m. the sun's still up, you know, in July and August. So I for sure feel it has to be past 8 p.m.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So what if you just simply set it at dusk
No,
or at
because
sunset?
can we do 11 to 11? I mean, that's a time frame.
You can do 11 to 11. My concern was, I guess, in response to Trustee Bell, just
Leaving it
explain to her that we need some sort of time frame.
Okay.
11 to 11, I think is fine if that's where we're seeing these issues or where we think these issues are most likely to.
Because by then I think most of the restaurants are closed, so the patios are empty with, you know, with the exception of the one new bar down there. But as I said, you know, this is just as Trustee Rhodey, who's not here, you know, stated last time, is it's another tool in the toolbox for the police to be able to keep our community safe and harmonious. And so just so that everyone is aware that even beyond these hours, there's other ones in their toolbox. But I feel like this one should be applicable for the majority of that time that people are out and enjoying the downtown. So I would like to propose just amending this to 11 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Matt, does
Yes,
Attorney
go ahead.
Galitzky, does that have, since we have dates, is it still as imperative to also have hours? Or does the dates,
My preference would be to have both.
okay,
We want to keep this as limited as possible. And by limited, I mean not necessarily pinpointed, but I want to have as many parameters as possible. So my preference would be to have a time as well as a date in there.
okay.
Any other questions or comments?
If we're extending to 11, I know we get some pretty nice days in April. Might as well go April 1st to October as well. That's not too big of an issue.
It's not, I mean, I guess the more you expand it, there has to be, is that when we're seeing this type of conduct manifest itself? Is it in April? Or is it weather dependent? Are we gonna capture more of it on May 1st to October 31st?
When do we put in the speed bumps?
I believe they're probably going to be going in the next week or two. Yeah.
I don't necessarily feel like it needs to be earlier, but that's my opinion.
Well, let's.
I think they do it for when people are
Right.
out there. So the more, the prime time is probably June, July, August,
Right.
September, maybe.
Here's what I would say. If
Amend it later.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. If we pass it as written, and it turns out that we have some data a year from now that says, hey, we're seeing this even earlier than May 1st, then there's nothing that says the board can't take a look at expanding the parameters there.
Would we have to rewrite it as well and then come back to the next board meeting to make the time adjustment?
No, if there's consensus, somebody can certainly make a motion to approve this ordinance as presented with the modification of whatever hours you feel are appropriate. That's a simple enough change that we don't have to go back and rewrite it.
Any other discussion or comments?
If the staff has.
Yes, sir.
At the last meeting, someone had mentioned that there were some railroad safety improvements at this intersection that were coming up. And I just wanted to make sure the board was aware of the latest plan. It doesn't directly affect this.
Yeah, I would say, hold on, Dave, this isn't agendized, so I don't want to get too much into this, all right? What is the intent here to explain? Because this is not agendized.
The intent is that the impact of this project could change the traffic pattern downtown with the cruising ordinance is going to be in place.
You're saying instead of just the area along beachfront, it could potentially impact other streets?
Well, this project, which isn't on the agenda,
Okay.
could limit the flow of traffic when it's complete and force or be an incentive for more people to travel on the beach instead.
Oh, okay. So in that limited capacity, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Dave, I just wanted to make sure that this is within the scope of what's agendized. So if that's what this is being presented for, that's fine.
Well, then it's a good thing we added the intent portion.
Yeah, and correct. I think it was Dave's concern, we had a staff meeting this morning, that he just wanted to be in the board's radar. Because he's been communicating with the DOT about traffic standards for this meeting. And is afraid that there could be a ripple down the road on the beach, but maybe that's captured or accommodated by Matt Lewinsky's comment that we can just revisit this. There's unforeseen traffic congestion because of this project, just because of the issue that the ordinance doesn't affect.
Right, but to Trustee Grabowski's point, adding something along the lines of more than just a quantitative value, I think is gonna address that a little bit too. Sorry to cut you off.
You're a lot nicer than when Mark would cut people off. So. I guess your bedside decorum's a little bit better.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance, was it 2025-03 with the amended time of 11 a.m. to 11 p.m.
But otherwise as presented.
Otherwise as presented.
All right, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, further discussion. I would just like to state for the record that I think this should have gone through Public Works and Safety first to iron out all these issues, and I hope that in the future, things like this will come to us completed. So
It was addressed at Public Works. It was mentioned, and there was no objection to presenting to the board the idea and concept.
all right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ordinance 2025-03 is hereby adopted. Item 6 is resolutions. We have none. Item 7, old business, review, discussion, and possible action to schedule 2 special meetings of the village board to consider appeals of 2024 fire EMS protection fees. Matt, Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. President. So your very, very gifted village attorney tried to warn me that we had some time restrictions within the ordinance for notification of the applicants, and I didn't realize that. So if we could postpone those until May 20th, that'd be wonderful.
Okay, are there any questions, any dates somebody has?
Are we presenting for the 20th?
I don't know that I'll be there.
Pardon?
I don't know that I'll be there.
I can make the 20th at 5.
So I think we would need a motion and a.
We would, I think.
Need
People are still
formal
checking
action
their
to-
calendars.
Yeah.
We need at least 4 for a quorum at 5 o'clock, so. On the 20th.
I should be able to make it.
I can as well.
3, okay.
I can make it.
Thank you.
That's 4. Jeff?
I should be able to.
Okay.
Make a motion to schedule the, what are we calling this? The meeting for the Appeals for Tuesday, May 20th at 5 PM. Anybody want a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried.
Thank you.
Agenda item 8A, discussion and possible action to confirm committee appointments by the village president. I have 3 this evening, Board of Review, I have Lauren Miller. Sex Offender Board, I have Jennifer Heineman and Susan Zenda. And Zoning Board of Appeals, I have Teresa Opry. I'd like to confirm those 3 for their boards as presented.
Are we confirming them together as one?
You can.
Motion to approve the board appointments as presented, committee appointments as presented.
Second, Grabowski.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Thank you, everybody. Next one is review, discussion, and possible action to approve a temporary road closure at 1239 and 1230 Timber Ridge from 5 PM to 10 PM on Sunday, May 25th for a block party. I didn't get a reservation. I didn't get an invite.
Yeah. Must still be in the mail.
Matt, did you wanna, or I mean, who'd be handling that?
I'll take it, Mr.
Okay.
President. So I was approached by a resident at 1239 with this request. It's apparently something they've done before. The police, the DPW tell me that they have no issues with it, so staff has no reason to object. So we recommend approval.
Motion to approve the temporary road closure of Timber Ridge on Sunday, May 25th.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion again is hereby carried. Review, discussion, and possible action on memo of understanding between Waukesha County and the Village of Pewaukee regarding the county damage assessment team and emergency government.
I can start, Mr. President, if you don't mind. So I think this is a fairly boilerplate agreement for when you have a multi-jurisdictional team or effort that's being coordinated by the Waukesha County Emergency Government Department. It's brought to us from the police department, and I actually believe this is kind of a renewal. I think we were participants previously.
I don't know if it's a renewal or they're creating this because they're going to be doing some training. Basically, in the event of a catastrophic event, tornado, flooding that would happen in one jurisdiction, they want a countywide team that could respond. So in the agenda, there's a lot of other, probably 15 other departments that volunteer to be part of this. We would send a designee, 1 or 2 people to go through the training, and it would let the home jurisdiction handle whatever problem they're dealing with. And this team would go out there, they do property assessment for damage for residents, rentals, take photographs, measurements, do interviews, to let the home base do what they have to do. So it would just be a supplement to the business that we're taking care of now. And memorandum of understanding that we would agree to that as a village, and and we ran it by Attorney Kolinsky, and he said again, it's boilerplate of what we've done in the past.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments related to this? If not, do I have a motion?
Motion to acknowledge the memo of understanding?
No, it's approved.
Oh, it's approved.
It's approved.
Okay.
It's an agreement between the
Okay.
county and the village.
Okay, approve the memo of understanding between Waukesha County and the Village of Pewaukee Police.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review, discussion, and possible action to approve transient merchant permits. Jennifer?
All right. This is our first few, I should say few, there's 20 of the year for these. They're just transient merchant permits. They've filled out all of their paperwork at Village Hall. I took all of their IDs and they were given to the police department. We also do a background check on them. Nothing came through for us. I don't know if Chief, if you found anything. No? Okay. Right, yeah, yep, so they're all out of state, but nothing pulled up on the Wisconsin background checks for them. They're all with the same company. It's for Active Environmental LLC, and these are good for 60 days.
Any questions or comments? Do I have a motion then?
Motion to approve the transient merchant applications as presented.
Second?
Second, Rhodey.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review, discussion, and possible action to approve agreement with Civic Plus Archive Social for social media archiving services. Who's handling this matter, Jenna?
We kind of both can, but I can start it off. I know in the past, I think when you were working with Cassie, she was trying to find a way to do like a Facebook page. But yeah, so this is basically to have a Facebook page, but I think it was in the best interest that we archive everything as well, was the direction I was getting from other clerks. And Attorney Gerlinski, I think, did you touch on it before with Cassie when we were doing these? Or was it Blum? Oh, she was with Blum, okay. Okay, so that was with Attorney Blum. But I think they brought up the, I think there was some interest in this, but it's also a way for us to make sure that when I was talking with the gentleman who I was doing this with, he said, you know, things can get deleted. Facebook could delete things. I mean, yes, it's on Facebook, but someone can go back from 10 years ago, find their comment and delete it. So this way, this is a real-time archiving system. So when it gets posted 20 seconds later, it's already in their system. So even if someone does delete something, we can look back and pull it up. And if something needs to be subpoenaed or anything like that from a legal standpoint, it could be pulled up that way. And I didn't know if you had something else with that or.
Yeah, if I could add to that, please. So the village does not have an official Facebook page currently. There is a new Facebook page started for the 150th anniversary, which is gaining traction. And up and functioning for a long time, the police department has a Facebook page and the library has a Facebook page. So the ones that have been up and functioning for a while presently do not have a formal archiving process. And there isn't necessarily a legal requirement to have a formal archiving process, but there is a legal requirement if there's a public records request to be able to provide those records upon request. And without an archiving system, the village would somewhat be at the mercy of Meta for being able to comply and how long they keep their material out there. So that isn't to say that anything is wrong the way it is currently, but it is perhaps not best practice, or perhaps it'd be a bit improvement to have these records stored in a place where we could access them and guarantee that they'd be around for however long the state would require, which might be 7 years, which is what I'm guessing at the moment. But yeah, just so it's on the board's radar for sure that posts on this would be considered official records of the village, and somebody could request them.
Right. I think the important point to note is the one that Matt just ended on, is there's not really a debate whether these are records. That's pretty well settled. These are considered records, and I'm glad that Mark agreed with that, Mark Blum, at the prior meeting. But the question then becomes, okay, these are records. If somebody makes a records request, we have to produce responsive records. And the village has adopted the state form municipal records retention schedule, which provides for different periods of retention depending on record type. Offhand, I don't know if any of those would fall, or if these social media type posts would fall into any of those. So it's possible there could be a retention period less than 7 years, but I highly doubt it. So we're talking about retaining records for a period of 7 years. Matt's right. There's the way that it's currently being done in an informal archiving process is not incorrect, but it could put undue burden on our system if we get a records request for some dated records that we have to go back and find through our own, rather than having a more sophisticated system.
So you're saying you would be okay with the village having a Facebook page now? Now that we have a great way to archive and produce those records?
I would. I didn't know that Mark, the prior council, would have put it so bluntly as.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say he was adamantly opposed or more so just over his dead body. Let us have one, so somewhere in the middle.
Let me put it this way. I would share his concern that anything that goes on there is a record. So it's produced, it has to be retained, and somebody could, under open records law, make a request for every post from 2017. We'd have to produce it.
Yeah, that seemed to be the major holdup for him, was the archiving and public record portion of it, so.
Yep.
Okay.
And I guess the other piece of it too is, what it's being used for, not in terms of content, but who and how many people are, I guess, utilizing from the village side of things, for communication purposes, and having some sort of policy as to who could post on it from the village's standpoint, I guess, would be, again, not to censor content, but just to have some sort of mechanism of control.
I'm just imagining it's President Knudsen doing all the viral dances.
And that's what I'm concerned about.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, we're hoping to use it for like election purposes.
Sure.
Things, people don't read their utility billing inserts usually. So anything on there, we want to kind of put on there, put it out. Anything, like if Positive Philly Pewaukee maybe wants to put something on there, we could do that as well. So we're just, I know that the board always wants to be transparent, and we also want that too in the office, to try and get more things out to people, because people are always telling us, well, I didn't know that, and it's hard to.
No, I'm not doubting its
Yeah.
usefulness as a tool.
But that is our plan. That's what we were planning on using it for, is
Gotcha.
those sorts of things.
Yeah, as long as we're archiving in a way that meets our concerns, I have no problem. Sorry.
Well, no, that's my question on is the record retrieval, who's responsible for that? Is it our system that we retrieve the records, or does this company do that? Is there a fee
company
associated with that, or is that part of
see.
this fee?
I
Like, how does that
believe
process?
It is
work?
part of it. Let me see.
So you guys aren't tasked with having to go back and retrieve and dig through these records?
No, we
It
would
be
have
them
a
also.
system, we would sign into this.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, but you would be going into the system and doing a data search on
I'll
it.
check
They
on
don't
that to
do the
see if they provide that for us, or if we have to go in. Let me check on that.
I mean, if we have to go in and do it, I can't imagine there's any additional fee to do that, because you just have
Right.
access into the system.
No, this
They have-
covers everything that we would need within that. There's two different ones, so there's the economy plan, for the 3,641. And then the standard plan is that 5,583. The standard plan would have more to it, so let's say if we wanted to flag picture, or if there's like a word, like a swear word or anything like that, it'll actually send one of us in the office an email
Oh, okay.
right away, and then we can go and look, and then we wouldn't delete it, we'd hide it. So that plan can send emails to us if we flag certain words, or if someone posted a picture that was lewd or anything like that. So that would be in the standard plan.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do have that as well.
It brings up a good point, Jenna. So in the packet, I see a general quote and invoices and things like that. Did the company provide any terms and conditions?
I believe, yes, let me pull up my email.
Okay. I don't note them here, and I have not had a chance to review those,
Okay,
so I'd like an
yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah, I can pull it up on my email and I can
Okay.
see if I can email it to you.
So if the board is inclined to make some sort of approval or motion on this tonight, I would just ask that it be subject to my review of the
Okay,
contract.
yeah.
I just have a question. Does this apply to all forms of social media, or is this Facebook specific?
Nope, so it's, we can add up to 12 accounts and we can do Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever Vimeo is, Pinterest and Flickr.
Okay.
So if we wanted to, I kind of chatted with Chief about this, if we wanted to all go in, if the library, the police and the village hall all want to go in, we can maybe share the cost between the 3 departments.
Does the city have a Facebook page?
I believe they do, yes.
It's fairly common these days.
Yeah.
It's a great way to, when you have a website, you require people to come seek you out. When you have Facebook, anybody who follows you, you can
Right.
push messages out.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And that was a request from a lot of residents on the survey, was
Yeah. Do they do this system, do you know?
I'm not sure what the city has, honestly. I know that there's not many that do this. I think there's only 3 companies that do this. So I can certainly see which one they use.
I wonder if they might be interested in sharing that financial, if they're using something similar as well.
we all know we're good with sharing with the city.
Well, throwing it
And
out there.
Matt, I did find the policy, so I can email this to you if you want.
Yeah, I would like an opportunity.
Jenna, did we do some due diligence on the company? If you said there was 3 firms that do it, did we approach the other 2 and get proposals?
I have not approached the other 2, so they kind of reached out to me because they do our code online, so it's through Civic Plus.
Okay.
So they kind of reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in it, so I did not reach out to the other 2.
Okay.
A question on the annual uplift?
Yeah.
5%, essentially a 5% increase every year, is that what they're saying?
So I think on there, 5% to be applied in year 2. So I think that,
What, is that a
Might be an
guaranteed 5%
annual.
increase that they're asking for every year?
I'll check on that, see if it's every year, if it's just after the 2nd year.
I did not read it
I was
that
gonna say,
way,
It
but
'cause
says year 1 annual discount in here. for
Yeah, because it's
seniors
only,
too,
and it's
so-
an.
There is a
only
discount,
Yeah,
you're
now, I
right.
don't know if that's normal practices when it comes to this type of,
It says annual recurring service is 6109.
okay, so what is it, what does the 5% uplift mean then?
Well, that would be it, because it's 55.82 right now, so then, I know that would be.
Oh, yeah, if you're looking at the standard one.
Well, yeah, I would double, it says annual uplift. In my mind, that would mean, that would
Yeah, so that would be
occur
the
yearly.
5% to be applied in year 2.
It is only a 12-month agreement.
Right, yep, so
So-
every year. So I can check
Oh,
and see
yeah,
if that's
subject to
every year or just after the 1st year. I can
Yeah,
check
it
on
says
that.
annual recurring services, 610980, but it says subject to uplift. So, yeah, an annual uplift is 5%. Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's an annual.
Okay, every
5%
year,
increase,
okay,
so.
yeah, I can check on that too, yeah.
it just says year 2, though.
Yeah.
Right, so I don't know if that's just after year 2 and they're going to do that every year after that.
Yeah, it's not clear because it says annual,
Right.
which means
Right.
every year to me, but then
Yeah.
it says applied in year 2. I think that means it's starting in year 2.
Okay, yeah, I can check on that with them.
Could we also, since you're checking on things?
Yeah.
Could we double check what happens, like if we were to cancel the services, do we still have access to everything, do you know?
That's a good
Oh,
question.
okay, yeah.
That's a good one.
That would probably be something addressed in the terms and conditions.
Yeah.
I would think, what happens to the records upon cancellation.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I just one, I mean, I'm in favor of doing something like this. I think we do need to check into those things and probably check into competition to see if there's a benefit. Or by bringing up competition, it could help us with this contract.
Right, yeah, sure.
Is there Attorney Galinsky, do you think that, like Facebook and things like their terms and conditions do extend to that amount of time where, say they did say we keep everything for like 10 years, is that still not sufficient for red?
I would not hang my hat on standardized terms and conditions from Facebook or the other social media platforms. I don't think that's gonna be strong enough. The onus is, if we do that, the onus is gonna be on us to do the archiving. They're not gonna do the archiving. They're not gonna give us any guarantees that anything will be available in 7 or 10 years.
And I just don't think the search capabilities would be effective
Right.
for us either on their platform versus our own.
Yeah, probably not if we had to do it.
Yeah.
right? Unless they were like providing it for us or something. I'm sure there's been cases, right, where they've done that.
Although I've heard they're pretty.
Not for us, just in
Yeah,
general.
Meta's pretty tough even with police requests for data or access, I've heard, so
Okay.
I don't think we should rely on them at all.
Okay, understood.
Any other questions or comments? I have a question, a couple actually. Going on to social media and discussing business, it's kind of scary to me because as of right now, when we get email from people, from our constituents, that encompasses all of us on this board, we've been told to really, we should not respond because that person could then put your response in another email back to the whole board again, which could then sponsor someone else to say, or if you do, maybe 3 or 4 other people may respond on that email, and now it becomes an issue. And I'm looking at this email, I'm looking at Facebook and that to me, this is very similar to what I just discussed, that if somebody says something to the board on Facebook, and one of the board members responds, then everybody on the board catches that, and then somebody else responds, and then somebody else responds. And then the next thing you know, we've got 3 or 4 people responding to this one individual who is going to say, well, Jeff, you said this, but Bob is saying this, and Jim is saying this, and Kelly is saying this, and what's going on?
What I said is right, so. Well, what I said is right.
So it ends
Yeah,
there,
that's right.
so that's
No,
good, it's just over then.
I'm trying to figure out where all this, if we're so worried about doing the one thing that I started the conversation with, opening it up on Facebook, and this was the one thing that Mark was, the biggest concern is that it's gonna become a meeting out of a meeting. And it's gonna be, for people who don't go to Facebook, now you're discussing something that other people may have wanted to talk about, but because they don't have Facebook, they didn't hear about it. Just like, unfortunately, just happened this evening where, if it's not about this particular item, we cannot discuss it. And I just feel very uncomfortable, and I'll be honest, what we've gone through for the past 2 or a year and a half, I just don't want any more of that, and I'm not totally on board with this. If we're gonna put, for Facebook, TikTok, or any of them, I just have a feeling that this is gonna be a real mess, and it's gonna come back to bite us in many different ways.
I think we need to have policies and procedures in place that are going to have, and it's not going to be us trustees that are responding back, it's going to be a dedicated person within the office.
That's what I
Sorry,
was
Jim, I
gonna
didn't see
say,
your
it's,
hand up over
that's
there.
not our forum as board members. We all have our own social media if we want, or avenues to communicate as we please. This is for the village staff and village hall to get messages out to our residents. This is not, it's not a debate forum, and it's not for us to be commenting. This is for staff and staff purposes.
Do
But
we have
what-
guidelines set, as in like board member guidelines? You know, what we can and can't say, when we can and can't say stuff
You
on.
could say whatever you want until it's wrong.
Well, I get it, but to address President Knutsen's thoughts and concerns is that maybe we put something.
You talking about on your own or on this?
No, not on our own. I'm saying like if we launch an official page, then there's a rule that this page is strictly for these reasons and trustees are not allowed to debate, engage, or whatever.
So before we get too far down that road, I just want to bring it back. So the discussion about putting a web or a Facebook page online or policies, procedures to the actual Facebook, that's not what's agendized here. So I want to keep I wanted the discussion in the framework
So
of
then
the
I will
the
make
contract.
a motion to defer for staff review of the questions brought up this evening.
Second road.
Okay, we have a motion to defer. Is there any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Okay, before I read the next particular item F, Matt, would you take a minute and just kind of explain what's going on here?
Sure. So I am going to distribute a memo to the board, but obviously the agenda this evening is a little different than what the board is used to in terms of closed session, and that is due to some recent case law that came down that suggests that courts are going to be looking at closed session, going into closed session, reasons for going to closed session with a much finer tooth comb than they have in the past. They are not going to accept, for the most part, blanket closed sessions any longer, I guess, if they were accepting them in the past. I guess what I would say is the interpretation that has come down has required us to be a little bit finer in what we're going to do in terms of closed session. So what you're going to be seeing now, probably going forward, is more along the lines of what you see here. The one clear thing that came out of this court decision is all discussions have to begin in open session. And it has to be something more than just announcing the closed session. But of course, courts being courts, they didn't tell us what exactly more looks like. So the minimum is we have to begin discussion in closed or open session. Depending on how the topic is discussed or presented, it may lead to a requirement for closed session. And that's, as we kind of feel that out, that'll be something that staff will provide guidance on. But really how it's going to be agendized going forward is an open discussion beginning, possible closed session, and then coming out of closed session again. And when you have multiple closed session items, it is a little clunky, but the way that we think we have to do it is essentially start open, go into close, come back into open, and then potentially move to the next item and do it all over again. So understanding that's not how we've done it in the past, again, I'm going to supplement that with a more formal memorandum, but that is the reason for the change. It's not just staff thinking we should do it differently.
No, is that? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can you not just bucket everything and then still do one closed session after? Like, okay, we're gonna add this to the closed session.
It is one way to do it, and we could possibly do that in the future. We're going to try it this way first.
Okay.
So does that mean that all information will be public in the packet then? That all the stuff we would typically see in closed session? Because what's the point in going into closed session if all details are already presented?
That's a determination that staff will have to make when putting the agenda together as to what is open and what is closed. Tonight, without getting into, I guess, the content of both of these are both items where in this kind of dance is going to be it manifests itself most in the bargaining exception, to be honest with you, because it all depends on where the status quo is when we're bringing it to the board. So that's going to determine what can be open, what can be closed. There may be situations in the future where there is still something in the packet, but there is still information that would be presented and appropriate for closed session where we would keep out. That was not the case this evening.
Okay.
So we can, this evening, we can do action if we so desire without going into closed session.
Correct, but you leave the option open if, as we discuss here, and I'll kind of go through that, so why don't you read 6F in its entirety?
Review, discussion, and possible action on First Amendment to the collective bargaining agreement between the Village of Pewaukee and the Pewaukee Police Association. If required, the Village Board of Village of Pewaukee will enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Section 1985 1E for deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the issuing, investing of public funds, or to conducting other specified public business. Whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically regarding the First Amendment to the collective bargaining agreement between the Village of Pewaukee and the Pewaukee Police Association. After conclusion of any closed session, the village board will reconvene in open session pursuant to Wisconsin Section 1985-2 for possible additional review, discussion, and action concerning this agenda item and to address the remaining meeting agenda. So, I guess.
We begin the discussion in open session, so I will look to the appropriate staff members to.
Who would
begin that
like to
discussion.
start this off? Chief?
Sure. So just a little history on this. Back in 2020, we hired 2 members that had experience from outside our department. So they applied for us. They had 2.5 years of service, and we started them out as brand-new first-level employees. And after that, we changed the contract in 2021 because we wanted to attract talent, experience from other departments. So we actually started people based on their experience up to a certain level. So we have 3 levels of pay. The first level, when you first start, if you've got 2.5 years experience, you go to level 2. And if it's 3.5 or more, you're at level 3. So we started people in the next contract in 2021. We attracted minimum 2 other people to our department, and we could start them at the 2nd level. Since that, the labor market is being tighter than ever. There are some departments that offer bonuses to come to their department, and it's harder than ever to attract people to work in law enforcement. If you are looking for a job, there are literally almost 100 jobs in Wisconsin that you could just apply to be a police officer. So how do we attract that talent? We recently had somebody apply that had 8 years of experience, and we would start them at a 2nd-tier pay rate. And what we wanted to do is that person had a lot of interest from other departments, and he did not go with us. And we felt had we had a better financial package starting at the top level, maybe that would have changed that. Equally, we lost one of our officers back in February to another joining jurisdiction, and literally he went from his pay here with 5 years experience to another department that paid him 5 years experience. If somebody else came to us with 5 years, we would only pay them at a 2nd level or tier 2 level. So what I'm coming here to ask is, and this was brought to the police union, and they agreed that pending your approval, we would have a hire with 3.5 years experience come into our department and be able to pay them at the top rate that another officer that was working here 3.5 years would get paid. So that's in raw numbers, a person that just gets hired right away, and this is based on a contract with our union, a first-year employee starts off at $70,833.88. So little less than $71,000 for a brand new officer that starts. The current contract says that if we took somebody with 8 years experience, we would pay them
$790.50. So it's about a $12,000 step up, and that's what somebody would start at now, based on the contract. We would like to change it to somebody that has that much experience, that they would go at the top level, which would be $91,606.58. So if you've got experience, instead of paying them $82,000 plus to start, we would give them at the top rate of $91,600 to start. They sound like large numbers, but we are looking at attracting somebody for our current vacant position and have an attractive package that would draw good talent, somebody with experience to start immediately. Yes.
One question, I guess, on this. Do you have anyone currently on your staff that transferred in with more than 3 years' experience, but started at 1 or 2, that's now going to say, what the hell? Well, why, I need to get bumped up now also?
See, that came into play back in 2021. We did hire people with 2.5 years experience, and they were not able to get the next rate. So, I mean, even though they were here and they were active employees, and that was a little problem, because the new hires got actually $10,000 more than they did.
So this isn't going to throw a wrench into
It's
anyone
not going to
current.
change any
Okay.
current employee. We don't have anybody ready to start or on an eligibility list that this would suddenly change anything. Nobody gets back pay, nobody gets raises. This would just be to post for an open position, which we have one right now. And then they would, if they have 3.5 years plus experience, and then they top off. This does not apply to any vacation. So, I mean, you still, if you apply, it's not like you get 4 weeks vacation to start because you have all this experience. It's just an incentive pay to come and at least apply for our department.
Chief, can you explain to me the 3 tiers again?
So tier 1 is straight away when you get hired, you get a base pay. 2.5 years pay, anybody that's got 2.5 years. So if you came from outside with experience, you would start at the 2.5 year level.
Okay.
Which would be the from 70,000 to 82,000.
Regardless of if they had 10 years experience.
Yep, right now, yeah. So when we had somebody apply with 8 years experience, we could only give them $82,000 to start, even though they probably worked at another department, paid $90,000. So the only difference is when they would come to us now with that experience, you'd start them at $91,000.
And that comes into play at year 3.5?
Right now it would be 3.5. Yeah, we have a 3-step process that once you don't get anything more than 3.5. You don't get anything more than that level.
Why wouldn't, if a person with 8 years experience, why wouldn't they get the 3.5?
Because the contract said you can only come in at 2.5.
You could, that's the
Yep.
CBA
Right
with
now,
the
right now, we all agreed back in 2021
Okay.
that regardless of how much time, it would only be 2.5. And now we're coming back because it's harder to attract talent. The job market has changed quite a bit since 2021. And realistically, this contract was only settled December of 2024. So we just worked through this 5 years ago, but we didn't, or 5 months ago. But back then, this really didn't come into play until someone, one of our officers applied to another department and they got paid almost same dollar for dollar. And we said, wow, if somebody would come to us like that from their department, we'd start them $10,000 less. So it's kind of like we woke up to the fact that, hey, this isn't working out for us because other people will just take our officers and we can't take their officers because we're paying $10,000 less.
So this just aligns with the current CBA that's in place
Yes.
with your union?
Yep.
It matches your structure with the CBA that was just passed in 2024?
Yeah, we're just going to change that tier pay that they would
Yeah.
get the top pay.
Got
Yes. Yeah, that's all it is. So nothing more. And the most it would be is, it's in about $9,000 more, from 82 and change to 91 and change.
And that's effective with the new contract that hopefully would take place next year, correct?
No, this contract expires at the end of the year.
Okay.
So we signed a contract
2024
Right.
and 2025. So this is just an addendum to this year's contract.
Okay, so we're starting it right away, okay.
Yeah.
It is not part
So-
of next year's
Nope.
negotiations.
I believe it is now going to be in, well, it would be agreed upon now, and it would be part of the contract for, 2025, 2026.
It'd be the starting point then for the
Yeah.
2026.
So this will help you fill the role.
Don't know, at least we can apply and be able to stay competitive with somebody that's coming from somewhere else, or stay competitive with, if someone's applying at 5 different departments, we're not at a lower level, so we can't even apply for that or get the pay rate that somebody else is offering.
Right.
So it's a competitive thing. When we post for jobs, we can, and almost everybody nowadays is trying to do lateral transfers to get people, because people are moving more than ever before. A lot more movement now than it was in 2021 when we first thought of doing this.
Makes sense.
Any other questions or comments? Would someone like to make a motion if we're comfortable in approving this?
Like to make a motion to accept the recommendation for the First Amendment to the collective bargaining agreement between the Village of Pewaukee and the Police Association.
Second, Grabowski.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Item G, review, discussion, of possible action on developer agreement and mortgage between the Village of Pewaukee and Duncan's Inc. for number 2 project cost expenditures for development at 203 West Wisconsin Avenue. If required, the Village Board of Village of Pewaukee enter a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Section 1985 1E for deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties and investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically regarding the developer agreement and mortgage between the Village of Pewaukee and Duncan's Inc., the TID number 2 project cost expenditure for development at 203 West Wisconsin Avenue. At the conclusion of any closed session, the village board will convene into open session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 1985-2 for possible additional review, discussion, and action concerning this agenda item and addressing the remaining meeting agenda. Matt?
Thank you, Mr. President. So this grew out of the development that is occurring with the future Brewfinity site. And as they were pursuing their building permits, became aware of a construction requirement that they hadn't planned on, which was the installation of a commercial sprinkler system for fire suppression, which added approximately $100,000 to the development cost that wasn't planned on. So this property is located within TID, and based on the project plan that the village had approved, this would be eligible for TID support. The developer is not requesting assistance for the whole amount, but for roughly a third, or $30,000, and that was to make the payback period shorter for them to accomplish it quicker, both in terms of their business planning and in terms of security with the village. So just as a very, very brief explanation, kind of an elevator explanation of how a TID works, when a TID is created, the value of that property is frozen at that point in time for all the other taxing entities, school district, the county, and WCTC. And then any additional value that's added, buildings that are built, any new value that's added, the village only can tax on that. And that is the increment for a tax increment district. Okay, an increment is revenue for a TID, the revenue that it's earning. So the way that this works is it kind of functions as a no-interest loan to the development, where the TID number 2 would be lending $30,000 to the developer, And then the agreement asks the developer to guarantee that that amount of new value being added will pay back in taxes the $30,000 over time. Staff asked Baird to prepare a pro forma, which is an anticipated cash projection. And if the values are as the increase in values as they are in the building permits, they pay back the $30,000 in 9 years, or by 2034. Attorney Grelinski has also furnished additional security for the village in the form of a mortgage. So in the event that the business evaporates, or that the building is sold, this is still tied to the lot owner, and that the TID must be made whole at that point.
Any questions or comments?
I have a few. I've participated in quite a few of these projects, being the lessee, and the lessor would be Duncan's Incorporated, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any way that we could, do we have the ability to look at that lease and what Duncan's Incorporated is passing on to the lessee?
No.
My concern there is that Duncan's would charge their tenant for these property improvements and receive the money themselves. And I'm trying to figure out where they're getting the additional $70,000 from.
So what I would say is that's not really our concern.
Okay.
The village's concern is to make sure that the TID costs are recovered.
Correct.
And the developer has agreed to essentially be on the hook for those. How they then pass that on to, if they do, I'm not saying they do.
Right.
How they then, what arrangement they have with their tenant, that's not really our concern.
Okay.
So to not speak out of an agenda, just to address what you're saying, I was the one that first brought this to the tenant as a path. Tenant then passed it along to the management company, who passed it along to the owner and the village and such. So the tenant is aware from the start of what said TID district is. So they haven't been cut out of it. It's not just the developer or the management company asking for the money. They've been aware of it from the start.
Okay.
And the reason we have the building owner, property owner on there is because they're the ones who have the ability to convey this interest, convey this security to the village. They're the ones that own the property. The tenant, they're just bound by the terms of their lease. The most certain relationship we can have is with the property owner.
And then we're guaranteed through a mortgage.
Correct. Well, so there's two forms of security in the developer's agreement. There's the mortgage. There's also the ability to special assess the property for any shortfall that we may have over the term of the developer agreement. So they're guaranteeing an assessed value increase of $350,000 with this project.
Yeah.
They're guaranteeing that. If they don't meet that in reality, we have two forms of security to recoup that. I mean, they could voluntarily make up the shortfall, right?
Yeah.
We could also special assess the property, and they're waiving their ability to contest that by signing this developer's agreement. So it would just go on their tax bill, whatever the shortfall is. Or in the worst case scenario, they, as the administrator said, up and leave. We do have that security interest in the property. If the property is sold, we need to be satisfied financially in order to release that mortgage.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
So we are, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm just saying that we are double secure in recouping the funds in an estimated 9 years. And we're not of concern on how that comes beyond the tax increased assessment, correct?
Yes, although, is it 9 years or is that right?
2034 was.
Yeah, 9.
Okay,
Yeah,
I couldn't
2034
remember,
was-
but yes.
yeah.
But yes, in a nutshell, that is correct, yes.
Okay, yeah. Thanks.
But it's being paid back via increased tax revenue,
Right.
not from them, right? That's how TIDs work. It's
Yep, they're just
from
gonna, their only obligation is to pay their taxes every year, but they're certifying that that amount is gonna be X to make us whole. And if it's short at a year, we have ways to recoup that.
And they just want 30,000 of 100,000.
Correct.
And we're saying that the sprinkler system is going to increase the property value by 250,000,
350,000.
350.
Yeah, so the project, the renovation project in total was for
whole thing.
$250,000. And then the sprinkler system added $100,000 onto that. So the total increased value would be 350.
So it's not in relation to that specific project that we're taking
The property.
or I guess they're taking the TID for the whole project, not the sprinkler system.
Correct. It's the total, right, the village will tax on the total increase in value.
Okay.
Yeah,
Full remodel.
it's a good question, yes.
It's a significantly much more marketable property now with Rooffinity and the changes that have gone into that building. Without these improvements, I mean, it was limited, just obviously based on fire code and what the use can be and everything else. So now, I, for one, am over the moon about Rooffinity coming in and think it's going to be great for our downtown and foresee them as a long-term business in the community. But just as a whole, this property is significantly improved with the changes they've made to that building. It was well past date.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments?
I've got one more question, sorry. If the tax assessment doesn't match the 350,000, does that just elongate the return process for us?
No, under our agreement, we have the ability to special
adjust it.
assess. No, not, if there's a shortfall, let's say, you know, it's the estimate, it's gonna come in at, with that increase, I think it's like $4,189. Let's say with the assessment comes in and they're only generating $3,000 worth of increment, we can special assess for that difference. That's what the developer's agreement says.
Thank you.
But just to be clear, we're gonna get those taxes regardless.
The
If we give them-
30,000?
Then if we give them 30,000 or not. Tax assessments are gonna continue to go up based on these improvements. Am I understanding that correctly?
But this is to help the
Yes.
business. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we would get the revenue regardless.
Yes.
Correct. Yep.
So we are kind of essentially giving them $30,000.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, and then
Well, but the project might not move forward.
But they may not be able to do the project
If they-
without
if they
it.
they don't have
afford
the
it.
assistance, correct.
Correct.
Right,
Point is, the TID is to improve
Right.
it and get business.
Understood, I'm just
Yes.
Yep,
tying the financial
no, it's
dots
a
together.
good question, yep.
Okay,
And because this is a prior established TID, we do not require approval by the school district and WCTC, things like that?
No, this is an authorized project cost in TID number 2. So this is the only action approval that is needed is this board's approval of the developer's agreement. We will notify the joint review board, but their approval is not needed for an established project cost.
Any other questions or comments? If not, would someone like to make a motion or go into closed session?
I'll make a motion to approve the developer agreement and mortgage between the Village of Pewaukee and Duncan's Inc. for the TID 2 project.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Do you want to make a comment?
No, well, I just want to thank you.
All right, then we have no citizens here to make a comment, so
Make a public comment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Only if you want to. Don't feel pressured.
just wait a second. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with the board members on any topic they choose, however, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws. The board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should read to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, with being indicated by audible alarm when an alarm sounds. Speakers are asked to conclude their comments. Speakers are asked to use the podium to state their name and address. Thank you.
I got 3 minutes, 2 minutes and 42 seconds.
No, it starts when I finish, so.
All right, I'm John Seatman from Seatman Realty. Do you want my address? West 240 North 1221 Pewaukee Road, Waukesha. I just wanted to thank you for two things. Number one is the cruising ordinance. That's a huge step in the right direction, and I hope that it's something that your police staff can address. I think everybody's been downtown, you've all heard it, and it's obnoxious. So I think it's a great way to counter that. So thank you. And I'd also like to thank you for your consideration on this, Tid. This is huge, and Brewfinity's doing a massive overhaul of that building, and they're hoping to be open by Memorial Day weekend. Don't quote me on that, but that's his stated goal, depending on contractors and their timelines. So it's getting pretty exciting, and for them to be open for the whole summer would be absolutely awesome. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, item 10, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are hereby adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Great meeting this evening. I'd like to get to meet with you next week.